to do is we're going to try and remember a lot of things. We've actually talked about a lot of things. We've talked about hooking the reader. We've talked about character. We've talked about show versus tell. What I started to say before is exactly what we were saying, is that you don't write, I was sad, I was angry. Instead, you show it by something that's going on. Try to do that. Try not to use words. So I'm going to ask you to have your character feeling a particular emotion as the scene is going on, but I don't want you to name the emotion. I want us to know by what's going on around in the scene. One great way to do that is by using dialogue. So you saw me do it in my one. One of the best ways to show versus tell is to let the characters speak. And by the way, if the characters are speaking well, meaning their dialogue is authentic to what's going on, you don't then have to use an adverb to say how they said it. And in fact, it's one of the most common mistakes new writers use, is that they're constantly adding on adverbs to the dialogue tag said. And it's really a redundancy, and it really, common wisdom now is that it stops the reader from getting fully absorbed in the dialogue. Dialogue tags, he said, she said, are really supposed to disappear when you're reading good dialogue. So if you said, he said unabashedly, doesn't that sound something writerly that someone would say? He said roughly. People think you're supposed to do that, but really, the dialogue itself is supposed to read gruff, or shy, or sad. So really, you just do dialogue and you write he said or she said if you need the tag to identify who's speaking. So when you're doing that emotion, I've just made it harder for you. You're not going to tell anything except showing how they're behaving in your scene. So like I said, you can make it from first person, third person. If you choose, you can make it from second person. Somebody wrote an entire book recently from second person, which is you. Up to you. You can name your character. You don't have to name your character. We're going to write for 5 minutes. If you get stuck, looking at the ceiling will not unstick you. If you get stuck, keep writing. Just write, I don't like what I'm writing. Just keep your pen on the paper and keep it moving. I wish I knew what I was writing. I wish the character would tell me what to say. I wish I knew what was in the room. Oh, I know what's in the room. There's a blue vase in the room. The blue vase was on the counter, and then you go from there. If you stare up at the ceiling, I guarantee you, you will not keep writing. You will just stare at a ceiling. So one of the things to do is to push yourself through the box. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Who said wait?
I don't know.
Does anybody hate me? No. Okay, ready guys? I'm going to give you the sentence. Alright? It's very warm in here too, I know. You guys ready? Here's the sentence. He, she, I, character, whatever their name is, put the suitcase on the bed. On the bed? On the bed.
Can you say it again?
He, she, I, whoever your character is, put the suitcase on the bed. So, why is there a suitcase? What's in the suitcase? Are they coming? Are they going? What is the situation that your character just put the suitcase on the bed? Remember, it's okay to write garbage. If I were to sit down and do this exercise now, mine would be garbage. Okay.
Does it have to start? Does it have to start?
If you want to play with where that line comes, go ahead. You're writing. Left. One minute left. See if you can put a good cliffhanger sort of sentence on the end, or at least a hook or something that finalizes that moment. Makes us wonder where you're going next. Start putting your pens down when you're done. Raise your hand if you want one more minute. Okay, go ahead.
Are we going to share this out loud?
If some people want. If you can tear yourself from your writing, look up at me when you're ready. I really hate to stop people when they like what they're writing from writing. It's very hard for me as a writer to make you stop and want to keep going. How many of you wish you could keep going? That's one of the things I love about doing this exercise. It keeps surprising me how often when we go into school, even the kids who thought they didn't want to do this exercise end up asking for another minute. How many of you thought this was easier than you thought it was going to be? How many of you thought it was harder than you thought it was going to be? So you notice how many, there are fewer hands that say harder than easier. How many of you like what you wrote enough that you think you'd actually like to go home or back to school and work on it some more? That's the other thing I love about doing this exercise, is that so many of the kids end up wanting to expand upon the story that they started with. One of the things about doing your writing like this, doing it quickly, right after the assignment is given, not having too much time to think or worry, or worry if it's not going to be good, is that it really frees you to just put your head in it and go. So when you get an assignment for school, most of us, myself included, my sons included, the first thing we do is we say, crap, I don't know how to do that assignment, let me put it away and I'll do it the night before it's due, even though I have 3 weeks to do it. How many people do that?
I do it in the morning.
So next time, the best thing to do is to just try to brainstorm without thinking about it right off the top of your head. When the assignment is given, take out a piece of paper and give yourself an opening sentence and write on it, not worrying about whether it's good or not, or whether it's going to be what you hand in. Then put it in a drawer for the 3 weeks you are going to procrastinate, and take it out the night before, and you have a rough draft of something that is often better than you thought. It's a much better way to work on something, is to get it out on paper and then go from there. How many people think they might like to read aloud from what they wrote here today? Do I have some people who might want to read aloud? I have a little, okay. I'm going to ask you guys to stay quiet so I can hear, because I'm interested in hearing some of the pieces that were written. And I'm going to give the people who have time, not everybody's going to have time to read aloud, but these are actually my favorite little pieces of swag. Does anybody read the book? No, what this is? Tell me.
I think the trolls, and JC wore them around her neck as like necklaces, and she would have like different colors with different hair.
Yeah, so JC is a big fan of these trolls, the main character in the book, and she ties them around her neck and wears them, and Nick is always kind of entertained by her. And my huge desire would just be to give you all one, except that at this point these are kind of illegal contraband that I have to ship in from Australia, from eBay. It's a true story. When I first launched the book, it's not me being illegal, it's the people who are selling it on eBay in Australia who are not really supposed to be selling them anymore. And so I bought a big batch of them when my book came out. I went looking for trolls because when I was in high school we had these. Anybody old enough to remember when these were first run? So I went looking for them and I found them, and then I actually tried to find the company who made them, and they were gone. The company is gone, defunct. So I found them on eBay and I ordered them up. Guys, try it.
Yeah, eighth grade, I'm really disappointed by the lack of respect. I'm hearing a lot of mumbling and muttering and side conversations. I've had to move several people. That's not what we expect of you as an audience. I rarely have to say this to computer school students.
So anyway, when my book was coming out, I ordered a big batch of these. It cost me a lot of money from Australia, but they were so cute I couldn't resist. And the New York Times ended up doing an article about me and my book and how authors have to market themselves much more by themselves these days because the publishers don't do as much as they used to. And they had a picture of me with all my little trolls and stuff around my piano in my house. And I got a phone call from the guy who runs this company, even though the company is not there anymore, asking me not to order any more of them because they're making, even though they're defunct, they're starting the company back up and they're actually making a troll movie, of all things. So he said to me, you can use the ones you have left, but the company can't, whoever's selling them on eBay in Australia, where I ship them in, can't make them anymore. They still are, but I can't order them anymore. So what you see here, that is the sad end of my troll supply. So, having said that, you had your hand up. The girl who identified the troll that you were going to read. Do you want to read?
Okay.
Go ahead. Shh, guys, please be quiet so I can hear.
I put the suitcase on the bed. Quickly, I muttered, and my fingers trembled. They would find me for sure. I took my knife from the bloody counter and stuffed it in my hand purse. I froze, footsteps coming up the stairs. I frantically pulled on my jacket and grabbed the suitcase and shoved it out of the window. It landed softly in the bushes. Then I slipped out the window, not looking back at the lifeless body I'd left behind.
Good job. You can come up with your troll after, okay? Go ahead.
I put the suitcase on my bed. I started to pack my things before my husband came home. I packed all his hair, my toothbrush, some warm sweaters, a water bottle, and food. I dug up my bag as my husband opened the door, leaving a pitiful squeak. I put my fingers in my ears and ran as fast as I could. Where do you think you're going? He growled. I didn't answer and just kept going. I said, where are you going? I don't know what happened next as I woke up in the bed with my husband snuggled next to me. It was just a dream. I walked in the bathroom, and I looked in the mirror as there was a water bottle in my stall.
Wait for that. Good job, very good job, you guys.
She put the suitcase on the bed. Kate barged in and slammed her own purple suitcase right next to it. Samantha zipped it open and started carefully taking clothes out and easily placing them on the side of her closet. Kate zipped open her own suitcase, putting more and more clothes in it. What are you doing? Samantha asked, looking up at her sister, with tears in her eyes, starting to form. Kate didn't need to reply. This fight got too big to get solved or ignored, and even little 7-year-old Samantha knew it. Just because you and Mom had a fight doesn't mean it can't be solved. Trying to sound hopeful or angry to cover up her fear. A life without her sister would be worse than no life at all.
So very interesting. We have 3 stories now, all different, but all sort of have a very angsty. One has some murder involved, one has some, fight or concern involved, another one has some fleeing. Suitcases often bring up, I guess, a feeling of flight. Does anybody have a story where the suitcase is happier? Just curious.
Mine's about
Mine is like a place for storage. A place for storage. Well, happy but it's
Bad at the end.
happy and bad at the end.
It kind of was,
Do you have one that's happy?
It's like sad.
It's sad. Interesting. Okay, give me one of my happy ones. Just we'll try to get to as many as we can until we run out of time. Where was one of my happy ones? Do you have a happy one?
Well, I was gonna say that I have one, but it's a mystery. It doesn't say whether it's happy or sad.
Happy or sad? Okay, go ahead and read.
Okay. The suitcase is placed on the bed. A major storm is coming from the break. The mystery of what's inside the letter parcel is wrong. Uncle Simon seems very attached to it. I can't take it anymore. I think it's died.
Okay.
I didn't
Not
hear
quite
that.
happy. Doesn't feel happy to me. Feels a little angsty, but it's good. Very good. Go ahead.
Mine is kind of negative, but I could change it.
No, I don't want you to. I was just curious. You read exactly what you wrote. I think it's interesting. I think suitcases do conjure up quite often a feeling of flight or fear. So I was just curious, once in a while we get someone who's going on a big adventure to Hollywood, or, you know, moving to their new mansion, or whatever the case might be. Hold on 1 second, I'll grab you over there, go ahead.
You put the suitcase on the bed. With one simple gesture, you sent away the emotions through my body. I was fine. Relief, joy. Just knowing that all those memories are lying there in a case on the bed put me at ease. Thank you. Then I open it. All of the emotions go flying out of my body in a split second. New negative emotions come to me. Very bad ones, very disappointing.
Makes you wonder what's in that suitcase. Did you know in your head when you wrote that what was in the suitcase?
No.
Does anybody know what was in their suitcase? Go ahead. Tell me what was in it. A bomb. I've had some bombs. There are a lot of bombs that appear in the suitcase. What you have in
mine's
the
a bomb.
One's for like babies, one's guys, we only have a few minutes left, and I love that you all want to talk. I think we have more time. What do you have in your suitcase? You want to read your story? Okay, go ahead.
Hi. We closed the suitcase on the bed as his girlfriend was crying in the corner of the bedroom. Practically, we go to the dresser and pick up 20 clips and stuff them in the suitcase, not caring if it was folded or not. Please don't go, the girl cried. He glanced back and put his hand in her blue formation, the middle finger. Shocked, she cried, sworn, and tried to grab his hands and he would stop packing. He shoved it off as her head falls to the ground with a loud thump. You should have cheated on me, he grunted. He looked at her with pity, takes the suitcase, and leaves the door with an angry silence. All that was left was the girl, apologizing, crying, bleeding, with her hands covering her head. Not because she was bleeding, but because she felt sick for what she saw.
Very good. There was somebody over here who I said could read. Go ahead. Up to you. You can read either one.
The call from the director made my heart flow. I take out my purple and pink with star suitcase and put it on the hot pink bed. And then I can add on to it. So, like,
You can do it right off the top of your head, huh?
Yeah, hot pink bed. I stuffed all my nicest clothes in it and hopped into the car, and then drive and where my dream is already.
There you go. Excellent. Good job, you guys. I think it's 11 o'clock, so I mean 12 o'clock. I keep doing yeah, oh my goodness. Yeah, and when we're done, those of you who read, come up and I'll sign trolls. For those of you who didn't, for those of you who didn't get a piece of swag, there are Slinkies and wax slips here. There's more Slinkies than anything, so everybody should at least walk away with a Slinky. Wait, guys, chill. Stay calm, please. I also have bookmarks. If anybody doesn't have their book and wants a bookmark sign or just wants to take a bookmark, you're welcome to. Did you guys want to, you guys need quiet? We only have 5 minutes left. And I'm not good at yelling at all. Does anybody want to ask me a question? I got the same hands up. Go ahead.
Do you know what happened at the end of the book? Like, do you know how it was resolved, or did you kind of just leave that open for yourself as well?
I think I have a sense of what I think happened at the end of the book. And I think that, for me, the way I wrote the end of the book lends itself to telling what happened. So I'm not going to talk about it here so that it doesn't ruin the end for anyone. But if you want to ask me up hereafter, I wrote it, I thought, geared towards, did any of the teachers read it? You think they know what happened at the end? I wrote it a particular way thinking that that was what happened, likely. But mostly what I think, anybody remember I said I'm a lawyer? Yeah. Anybody know what kind of law I practice? Somebody was close. Who said it? Mediation. I'm a divorce. Wow, somebody got that. Mediation. Yeah. I'm a divorce lawyer, and actually, even though I'm a divorce lawyer, I didn't like going into court and fighting for the parents, with the parents about the kids years ago, so I trained in mediation. But because I'm a divorce lawyer, I see unhappy marriages all the time, and I see marriages that are unhappy, but the parents still do a good job with the kids, and that's what my goal is. So when I write, I think a lot of that plays out in my stories. And what I think with families quite often is that there isn't a happy ending or a sad ending to a family. There's just change, stuff that happens, and things change, or stay the same but morph to a different point. So I think that was kind of my point at the end of the Pull of Gravity, is that a family is a family regardless of what happened. Go ahead.
Did you come up with the cover or?
That's a good question. When you're a new writer, you get very little input into a cover. I actually got a little bit more input than I might have been given otherwise, because my editor and I are very close. But the first cover they did for me was this. Does anybody like this cover better?
Yes. Yes.
So now there's usually, that's about the right ratio. There's usually 1 or 2 people in a room of 50 or 60 that like this cover better. I like the idea of this cover, but I didn't like the execution of it. I thought it was a good concept, but the bus in the Pull of Gravity is not a Partridge Family van. It is a commercial trailway bus, and there's no chalk in the book, so I couldn't figure out why it was written in chalk. And mostly, I felt like this cover looked like a textbook, and that it wouldn't, if it were on the shelf of Barnes & Noble, it wouldn't make you want to walk over and pick up this book. Does anybody agree with that? That you can walk right past it? So when this book came in the mail, can anybody guess what I did?
Threw it away.
What did you say?
Threw it away.
That was close. That was close.
Put it in a drawer?
Okay, I'll tell you what I did. One last guess. No, I cried. I did, I cried. I said, well, I waited 10 years to get a book deal and a book, and I'm all excited, and this came in the mail, and I cried. Partly because, a lot of reasons. This book, did anybody notice how much wonderful praise I have on the back of this book, which is like the coolest thing in the world for a new writer? And a lot of this had come in already and was supposed to be on the back of this because it helps to sell a book to libraries and booksellers, etc., to want to carry it in their shop. And it was supposed to be there and wasn't. So I told them I was unhappy, extremely unhappy with this cover, and that I wasn't going to feel good carrying it around. And so they next gave me this amazing cover, white cover with the world smaller on the bottom and a troll doll with a bright red shock of hair flying down from the sky. And I was madly in love with it. And they said, sorry, you can't have that. And actually, maybe it turned out to be a good thing, because that was before the whole story with the troll dolls and the movie and everything. So maybe it was a lucky thing. And so this was actually the 3rd version of the cover. And there are things I like and don't like about it. To me, this isn't what Nick looked like. Does anybody think this is what Nick looks like in their head? The Nick on the paperback cover is closer to what I imagine Nick to be, not only in my head, but I think I at some point described him as having dark, wavy hair, kind of lanky, etc. But he certainly doesn't look like Justin Bieber, which is the first thing I like, right? The first thing that my kids said. So, but I like the circles, you know, the kind of angsty feeling, road trippy circles she put in the back. I liked the JC. And I thought it looked like a movie poster, so I thought that was certainly a big improvement from this one. But there are people who like this one better, so you're not alone. There are definitely people. Anybody else?
We have time for one last question.
Why did you say title Pull of Gravity? Like, why?
Does anybody remember where the title comes from?
I'm gonna guess. Is it because like he had like hallucinations and like he fell off the building or whatever? I'm guessing because he fell. Like,
No.
It doesn't have to do with that.
Star Wars.
There you go. So, I'm sorry. It's a Star Wars quote. It's actually in the beginning of the book, and then the quote comes later in the book. But it comes from a Star Wars quote: "Go to the center of the gravity's pull and find your planet you will." So, and the quote actually comes up later in the book. So it's shortened from the Okay?
Thank you so much.